Here's some great news if you're a fan of Remnant 2, a game that we had a fantastic experience with and is praised for its replayability and overall execution. Remnant 2 is getting its first DLC release, which is set to add in a whole bunch of new additions to an already very good package, and it's releasing very soon on November 14th. The base game already has 11 archetypes or classes within, with several of them being community-discovered classes through hours and hours of play and experimentation, or even data mining. Shout out to the Archon archetype, an absolutely insane challenge which the community actually figured out. But with this new DLC, we know that we will get a new archetype added in with it, which will be the Ritualist. This is a new character class which is focused around using status effects against foes. Sadly, there really isn't much more information on the class other than that, but we know that more details will be released about it soon as we get closer to the launch date for the DLC. It's also going to be pretty safe to assume that there's going to be plenty of secrets and things to figure out and find, as is per usual with the developers at Gunfire Games, and for me, this is one of the special things about the Remnant series that many games these days are just missing out on completely. The theme of this new DLC is all about the one true king. You may have even met him before in Lossum. This character is well known and established in the lore of the base game and was thought to be dead, but he actually wasn't. And now, after waking from a long near-death slumber, he's out for vengeance and has been corrupted by the root. After getting betrayed and nearly dying, he is now paranoid, seeing betrayal around every corner, and has launched a relentless campaign of retribution, with them describing the DLC as a tale of his vengeance. In this DLC, we can expect to visit the One True King's cursed castle, which has materialized on the shores of a once peaceful Dran coastal town. Now that it's taken over, the tides are growing turbulent and the weather spirals into chaos, and along with that, a creature of untold horror has emerged from the abyss, leaving in their wake an abundance of mysteries for us to unravel. So if you are a fan of lore relating to the One True King or just the Lossum area, this new storyline expands and dives into it even more. But it's not just all about the story. There's going to be new dungeons and areas within Lossum, as well as what is described as a wealth of new items, including modifications, rings, amulets, and powerful weapons, which, with the sheer amount of variety of weapons that were already in the base game, I cannot wait to see what crazy effects, modifications, and whole new weapons they think up this time. Furthermore, the bosses are definitely a memorable factor of Remnant games, and as should be expected, we're getting even more bosses, new characters, and creatures, which are meant to add a new layer of challenge. Of course, we know that the Ritualist archetype I've mentioned previously will be included, but with just how many extra classes were found after the launch of the base game, it would be absolutely insane if there could be any additional hidden classes along with this DLC. Maybe we shouldn't get our hopes up for that, but it really would be the cherry on top of the cake for me. There's actually a preview article about the new DLC on theloadout.com, where they say that this new DLC maximizes your archetype's potential. They go on to say that the Ritualist will be leveraging status effects to punish foes, and that it's an archetype and master of pain and suffering. With each of the different archetypes already in the game being themed around the biomes in the game, this Ritualist is much again the same for this new area. And if you are a fan of the Bloodborne games, then you're going to be happy to know that in a 20-minute preview that they got to see of the DLC, they say that the Bloodborne tinged aesthetic of Lossum's primary location in the game leads heavily into this new area, with a dour, gothic nightmare seaside town being home to a magnificent castle. And going back to some of the new weapons that are being added in with this DLC, we know from the co-founder that they've been looking and taking inspiration from other games such as Destiny 2, and that their goal isn't to make weapons that some people say is just okay, but rather some that people love or hate. Furthermore, if you're wondering when you can actually encounter this DLC, we also know from the Loadout's article that when you're playing, you can encounter the DLC at random when starting a new adventure mode campaign, or when playing the game for the first time after the DLC has been installed. But if you haven't seen the latest trailer for the DLC, I'm going to let it play out for you guys, because there's a few tidbits in there that you could miss out on if you don't pay attention.
So the hour of reckoning has come at last. Rivers of blood and cries of agony. The king I once served, once counted as a friend, is no more. What remains is a true tyrant. Our world shall slip ever deeper into peril. Should we fail to put a stop to his bloodlust, will you light the way? Decide, strange one. Duty or hope?